This time on The Places We Live, we meet country music icon Adam Harvey and other local bands to take a look at the Central Coast music scene. We talk about getting original music heard and some of the struggles in the live music scene. All this on The Places We Live. First up, I met with Adam Harvey to find out a little bit more about his story and how the Central Coast has embraced him. So Adam Harvey, great to meet you this morning, mate. Thanks for taking the time out to see us here at the Entrance TV.
Oh no, thank you very much. I mean, what a place to meet. It's magnificent.
Yeah, it certainly is. So Adam, just a bit about your story, mate.
Born and raised in Geelong, down in Victoria, and my dad brainwashed me as a kid with country music, all the great old country music, Johnny Cash and old Slim Dusty, and so I grew up and that stuff was in the house the whole time, you know, playing, and used to cop a lot of flack at school when because I was a country music singer, so I got a hard time, and then I just sort of followed my passion right through, and I had several other real jobs, I guess you'd call them, but in the end I got the chance to get a record deal. And what happened with a lot of the country music singers, the record labels in Sydney wouldn't sign you to a contract unless you moved to Sydney. Oh. And I didn't want to move into Sydney, it was too busy, but I was actually sleeping at Rod McCormack's place, who's married to Gina Jeffries.
Yes, right,
So I was sleeping on their couch.
Rod and Gina, yeah.
I think they must have got sick of me because they finally said, why don't you rent a place around here somewhere? And that's the reason I moved up to the Central Coast, and then and that's the same reason that people like Casey Chambers have moved here. She was from South Australia. Sure. Becky Cole came across. Gina Jeffries came down from Queensland, and it was all because in order to get the record deal, we had to show enough commitment in the record company's eyes to actually move closer.
So the music scene on the Central Coast, as far as country music goes, how do you feel that we're received here? You play shows here often?
Yeah,
or?
we do, and I think one of the great things about having so many country singers that have moved here from all over Australia, I think the locals really have embraced us, and there's a really great country music scene, a lot of great venues, everywhere from your larger, bigger venues to those little intimate places, and we always get a really good following at the shows. And not only that, there's a really good rock scene too here on the Central Coast. Whether you're one of the young kids that are starting out and trying to get a break in the music industry, the Central Coast is a really great place for you.
All right, Adam Harvey, thanks for your time this morning, mate, the Entrance TV.
Good on you,
thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers. Okay. Adam's description of the country music scene on the Central Coast has me excited. So off to crash a rehearsal with local rock and rollers, eye on you, to find out what it's like to be a rock and roll band and talk gigging on the Central Coast. What's the best part about being a band, fellas? What's that for you guys?
Oh, look, it's the camaraderie. We sort of
we sense that.
Yeah, and it's writing the music. That's great, and producing it and getting it on a CD and getting punters to love it. That's a
and then going
passion.
out and smashing it live.
Yeah.
The Central Coast, great place to play.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Venues are great. The punters are fantastic.
Yeah. What's your favourite venue on the Central Coast?
We couldn't really say that.
Really
We've got quite a few.
Well, what's your favourite venues?
Oh, look, Old Pub Woy.
Yeah.
Great.
Royal
Royal,
Catherine Hill Bay.
Catherine Hill Bay, one of our favourites. Yeah.
Yeah, that cranks up there, doesn't it?
And all the publicans just look after us so well.
Yeah. Terrific.
Treat us like family.
Yeah, well,
that's the thing with the coast. It's a real family thing. It feels that way.
Tell me, what goals are you hoping to accomplish down the road from here? What's on you got installed for the future?
Definitely more music, more original music. Play live, just keep smashing the live stuff.
Yeah.
And do a lot of original gigs, which is unfortunately we can't do on the coast as much.
And why do you think that is on the coast?
Look, I think most of the venues on the coast want the punters in there that like to dance and know the music and
the sing along.
That's pretty much it.
It's economics. They've got to get bums on seats.
Yeah.
And in Sydney, it's a whole different scene, and people want to be seen at the original places. Where here, people won't go to them because they don't know the music.
After hearing this, I was a little confused. On one hand, both Adam and I knew were saying that the Central Coast music scene was a great one, Yet on the other hand, it was not so good for original music. So time to meet with local frontman Byron Knight from the indie band Sea Legs to find out more about how the Central Coast music scene has changed.
So I'm with Byron Knight from Sea Legs. Byron, you've been on the music scene for quite some time, and look, welcome to the-entrance.tv, mate.
Thanks, Craig.
Mate, yeah, so Sea Legs is obviously the band of today now, but where was the start?
So I suppose the first band that we sort of took ourselves seriously was a band called Stuck on Ellie. It's a little pop punk band, and yeah, this was just straight out of high school. We all sort of finished in year 10, and yeah, started playing these shows. A lot of the shows that we played were at like churches, because they were a great all-age venue, and you know, some youth spots around the coast. But back then was like, they were the glory days. That was when you were getting like 500-600 kids to a gig.
Wow.
I remember the first gig we had was like an EP launch. Like, it was the first gig we ever had, and it was like we had about 550 payers. We sold $2,500 worth of water. It was like the hottest night ever.
Wow.
It just worked out really well. And yeah, I think we ended up making around $8.5 grand, and we were all just out of high school. We were so stoked. We just spent it all on tech decks and fizzers.
So you mentioned glory days there, Byron. So
Yeah.
what's changed, mate?
Oh, past 13 years, I've just noticed the scene just totally changed as far as lack of venues.
Yeah.
There's been some great venues over the years just shut down. Even over the past couple of months, there's been some iconic venues on the coast shut down.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, mate, it's just yeah, it's tough to have anywhere to play now.
Yeah.
Like seriously, there's only like 2 venues on the coast now to play.
What do you think's brought that on in the scene? What sort of changed it, from your perspective?
Look, I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint, but it just seems like maybe people aren't going out to watch live music as much now these days.
Is that because of the era of the DJ, perhaps?
I mean, back in the day, it just seemed like there was so many different options of venues, particularly all-age venues. Now, like, there's just none.
Yeah.
Like, I feel sorry for those young guys.
So I wonder, what are our young musos doing to get their original music out there? Off to see the youngest of our bands, the Little Quirks.
Faster, come on, the world will follow after. Come on, settle down inside my love.
All right, so I'm here with the Little Quirks. Ladies, let's get some introductions. So,
Hi, I'm Mia. I'm Abby.
Hi.
I'm Jamie.
Terrific. These are the Little Quirks, quirking it up. Yeah. All right, ladies. So tell us a little bit about the Little Quirks. What's the dream?
Well, we're an all-girl trio. We consist of a drummer, a guitarist, and a mandolin player. So that's pretty much our sound at the moment, and it's kind of a folky kind of sound.
Yeah,
so
cool.
Just doing covers. Yeah.
Yeah. So folk covers, or we're doing covers of other music into folk?
Well, we're doing popular songs, and we kind of make our own versions out of them.
Ah, well, that's cool. So what's your dream though? Where are the Little Quirks dreaming they'd like to be? If you were to dream a dream.
Well, we're not really thinking fame.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of just are thinking like we want to get some original songs and we want to get a few big film clips, like music videos.
Yeah, so how do you think you're going to go about this? So how do the Little Quirks get their dream into that song?
Well, I think the way to get it out there would definitely be through social media. So Facebook and YouTube have been working really well for us at the moment.
So tell me, so what do you feel by having a great YouTube and Facebook following? How's that helping you?
Well, that has been giving us views on cover songs, so we think that when we've posted an original, that will really get it out there.
Okay.
So that will help it get more known, and
instead of doing it the other way around with like an original first and then maybe doing covers.
Because people like search covers, and people have been like, they look it up, and when they see something they know, they click on it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so live shows. So what do you play? Where do you play them?
Well, gigs are pretty hard to find for us because we're, like, Mia and I are underage at the moment.
Of course,
So we're not quite. I think I'll be able to do it next year, but so that's why we can't like do much of the real gigs yet.
But real gigs where?
As in
just like
pubs and
licensed,
stuff.
okay, yeah, sure, okay, yeah.
So we're doing like the Dam Hotel.
Sure.
Like
family. Yeah, it's like family days, and we do the Rhythm Hut sometimes, and that's
the bungalow.
And the bungalow.
Yeah, cool.
So we just do little things like that, but it's mainly busking for us.
With a social media strategy in place, the Little Quirks seem to have a solid plan for getting their original content heard, but again, a similar story about the live music scene on the coast.
So what do you do when you can't find venues to play your own shows? What you do is you start your own festival.
After hearing consistently about the lack of venues and struggling live scene, I was delighted to find out that local bands, including Sea Legs, had taken the scene into their own hands and put a local run festival on in Long Jetty.
Yeah, that's rocket, eh?
Look, I really hope for Central Coast's sake that there's some new life in venues, some people bold enough to actually take the plunge into getting some things happening here on the coast again. Yeah. There's so much potential, so many cool venues that I see around the place that I'm just like, oh, they make the best music venue.
Well, Byron, I think you've been that person.
As you can see, it's pretty clear the locals are pretty keen for music. And we've even got a place here behind me for the emerging artists. So here we are, something great for Long Jetty, start of a new era, super excited to see where it takes us.
With the new hope of social media and musos finding a way to get their original music heard, I wanted to ask the bands for some advice and wise words for new and up-and-coming musos.
All right, so advice for younger generations coming through in the music scene. What have you got for them coming up through the ranks?
Don't give up.
Don't
Just
give
keep
up. Work
playing.
hard.
Stick with it. Playing. Get some good gear behind you. Don't give up and play some great music.
Yeah. Just have fun with it. Totally enjoy it. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Just having fun. Just keep writing a lot of songs. Don't necessarily release the first thing you write. I reckon write heaps of stuff. At the end of the day, if you love it enough and want it enough, you're going to kick goals.
I definitely think going through social media is the way to go, because that's how you get yourself out there, and
just everyone generally uses it anyway.
Yeah, so like everyone in the world you can reach, so it's really good to have for young bands coming through.
So there you have it, a terrific insight into the local music scene here on the Central Coast. A big thank you to all the bands. You can find their music on iTunes and other music portals. With all we've seen and heard about the struggling live scene, our local venues and music consumers giving the Central Coast music scene the support it deserves. Well, I'm off to continue my quest on learning the guitar. I'm Craig Fisher. See you next time on The Places We Live.